Hey, Sean, where are you from?
Hi.
Tell us about yourself.
Hi, Nova. Well, that's perfect. I am Sean, and I'm from Paradise RPG. You can find me at Odo_Sean on all social medias, and you can find me every Monday night DMing over there at Paradise, and every Thursday night painting minis, drawing maps, playing Valheim, and doing whatever I want, really.
Okay, that's good to know. And also, you're a touch loud. Shannon,
Yeah,
you
Is it
are
my turn?
apparently a Paradise person as well. Do you want to
I
tell us
sure
what you do?
am. Sure. Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name is Shannon, and I am also from Paradise RPG. I play Scarlet in our Monday night campaign. I am also our community manager. And I hang out and chat and distract Sean while he's streaming on Thursdays.
She
And
bullies
yeah,
me.
I do not. That's not true.
It's been a while since I've helped you out with that, Sean. I'll have to come back
It's true.
sometime. All right.
We'd love to have you in Paradise. Come join us. We've got programming on actually our next one shot is next Saturday, the 13th, DM'd by our very own Stefan. So we'd love to have you for that.
And the two of us will be in a one-shot this Saturday for Jasper's
That's
Game Day.
right. Tomorrow night. Eastern time.
Apparently, Sean and Sloan were a touch loud. I don't know if Sean is still too loud, but Sloan, if you could just
I turned my gain down a little bit. How do I sound?
Turn the gain. Turn the gain down? Is that the thing?
We'll set up some volume caps next time as well. That should even people out. We just didn't
everyone would
quite have
draw
time
like a
this
little
week.
line on their gain thing to know how far they can be out.
Is better.
I'll make a computer do it. Don't worry
so.
next time.
Seems better to us.
Did it go down? Did I turn it the right way? Because my mic is
Shannon
upside
sounds
down
fine.
right
Okay.
now.
Mike.
Hello.
Hi. How are
I'm doing pretty good. I'll
Yeah?
tell the same story that I told you. I ate a cinnamon bun today, and now it was like the size of my head, and I'm barely alive because of it.
Sloan
But
is
you want to know
jealous.
other things. I'm the DM for Wonders and Blunders, which is a 5e horror comedy podcast. We are getting close to the end of our first season, so now's a good time to jump in, get in there for the final throes of whatever's going to happen. They've thrown some real monkey wrenches in my plan, so it's going to be interesting to see how the old Duke boys get out of this one. You can find us just about anywhere that you can get podcasts, or check us out at wonderandblunder.com.
All right. Next up, we have Whistle. Sorry, Whistle. Someone could put a chat command in as we miss her. But moving on, Agent. That's not how you spell her name, Agent.
I tried. I'm not good at spelling.
I got it.
Really
Don't
so
worry.
my name is...
Again, we can blame Saros for failing again.
I'm agent number 1. I've been playing Saros Starweaver. I had to just look at the screen to be like, what is my character called? I'm also teching tonight, which is the first time ever, which is like a new thing. I'm also a Twitch streamer, so I normally do my own stuff, but everything is totally different when you're teching for D&D. So this has been a fun learning experience right now, and we appreciate your patience. I'm also part of the Wonders and Blunders crew, where I play as a player over there and also do some of the sound effects and music and stuff for our weekly podcast. And you can catch me on Twitch on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time if you like complicated strategy games explained with my dulcet tones. I think that's it. I think that's me.
Apparently, Saros is super quiet when he's not close
to my mic.
So...
Goodness gracious.
I don't know if you move much, but do better next time.
Just gotta turn myself up a little bit.
That was harsh. Yes. So
no, why don't you introduce yourself?
Firstly, I'm me. Hi. No, I'm Nova or Nova 1. I am the DM for this game, The Scales Above. I am the guy that runs Roll for Damage. I get a lot of help from 2 fantastic individuals, AJ Winters and Bree. Bree is the artist, which has done all the art you see, has done all the layouts, done all the GIFs, done the starting soon screen. Pretty much without her, nothing runs. She's the brains of the operation. So if you like her art, if you like anything to do with that, go and track her down on Twitter and Instagram and give her a follow. She's great. She's at Brepire, which she hates me saying because I always pronounce it incorrectly. But yes, does she do commish? She does do commish. But agent, no. Hold up.
I give up.
I got it. Oh no, Nova got it.
Yeah, there we go. There you go. She does do commissions. She will she will most likely, if you try to message her, tell you to go to her website, which we should have a link to in the panels. Yeah, crew and friend artwork. Click to view Brepire's portfolio. There you go. Anyway.
Oh, the bird has a weird instrument in this song, hey?
I'm just gonna make sure
bizarre.
that doesn't happen again.
We're trying some new.
But,
I would love to see a bird.
Oh, I think we have to say we actually this music is by Syrinscape. I think Nova's probably going to do this already, but
I'll let you cover it. I'll be a set.
I'll do it right now.
So Syrinscape.
You want to do it, Sean? You can do the Syrinscape spiel.
Yeah, I do it every week for Paradise.
Take it away.
Syrinscape is an excellent source of ambiance sounds and music that you can utilize for your own games at home. It is there are different subscription levels that get you different packages. It can also be used free, and they're really, really great for your home games and streaming games. And they've got a really cool online player that we're taking advantage of. So check it out.
Yeah, it's in beta. So I imagine that means there's still improvements to come with it. But really, it's great already. I use it in my home games. I use it in my online games. DM can just set things up on his end, and then everyone goes to player, and they just hear it. And you can adjust all the volumes of individual things. You can add sound effects like spells and sword clashes and dragon roars if you really want to be fancy. Hard to do that while you're online, but yeah, it's really, really, really good. So good job, Syrinscape. I think that's everything to cover, except for if you want to find out more about us, panels, Twitter, Insta, YouTube, Discord, go nuts, come say hi. We have a community that is getting pretty active, so that's all great. And I guess onward to the questions and table talks of season 2. So chat, if you have any questions whatsoever, throw them our way and we will try our best to answer them. To start with, what happened to the option to buy a character gear and or dice with bits? They're still there. So we have something called the Hellfire Bar, which is one thing, and we have the donate, which is for bits and dollars. So donate is the same as it was before. Bits, things, you can help players out. It's all great. They can have up to 3 of any type. The wild card is a bit crazy because I will either use a wild magic surge on the next spell cast, or if they're not in combat, I might just draw a card from the deck of many things and see how it goes. So the wild card is for me, the other one is for them. And I feel like Shannon's just like, oh god, and has got her bottle of vodka. Not water. With that giant mouthful.
Can you explain the Hellfire Bar a bit?
I was getting there.
All right.
All right. So, as the bar fills up, from anything you guys do that helps support the channel, you'll see the little flame gift get bigger. As it gets bigger, it gets scarier. When it finally does get to 100 maximum size and goes off, there will be an effect, either a good or bad spell. That good spell, something that helps the party, whether it's a role play, and it's like not a spell as in like literally a spell from the spell book. It's something more powerful than that. Something that might help the party, imbue them with knowledge or power. The bad side of it is gonna be when what kind of like what used to be the Harrow, where something comes in and causes issues for the party. I know one of the other DMs in our channel is going to be using a deck of many things to represent it. Another one has made like 10 to 20 custom events that could happen. I tend to be a bit more fly by the seat of my pants sometimes, so we'll just see how it goes, because this party keeps throwing wacky things my way and ruining my plans. So we'll just have to see how it all goes. Hopefully that explanation was good enough. I was meant to write one up and didn't because busy, but that'll cover us for now. DM stuff we never prepare. Yeah. He knows. Bad, more limbs being claimed. I've claimed 0 limbs. Anyways, I have claimed no limbs. All right.
Not sure that's accurate.
Hexen claimed 1 limb, and someone else, and a Damon claimed the other. So that's
I got mine
just,
back
CC's claimed
too, so.
Yeah. Never forget, right, that I am not the NPCs. If they're gonna do something, if they've got a plan, I'm just gonna go through with that plan and hope the party doesn't, not stop them. Shannon, you just Sloane's asking for it. Which you love because she likes to punch things. Anyways, if you have any questions, I'm gonna probably get Shannon to put them into our chat here so that I can read them, because things are going fast too much and I've got other screen to focus on for the questions asked in our Discord and Twitter. So I saw that on Saros' screen. He opened something.
No, you didn't. You didn't see anything.
Didn't see nothing. All right. So the first question that I have, and I'll go round to everyone with this one. What inspired you to create your characters and their backstories? Starting with Mike.
Yeah, okay. Do you want to kind of talk about the 5-man band in this?
Sure. If you guys, because go for it.
Because like that was kind of where Leaf came from. Was I was the last one to claim a spot in the group chat, and so I ended up as the leader. Which is for me like as a player, I don't play very often. For one thing, I'm a forever DM, and when I do play, I tend to just be the comic relief somewhere in the back. So I had to make a leader character who I could comfortably play for a long period of time. So I based Leaf off of Mal from Firefly, mainly, a pretty flawed leader who isn't necessarily the best at everything, just sort of good at being in between everybody else. And that was the big inspiration that I wanted to do. Was Leaf himself is pretty useless, but he gets things done by being able to interact with everybody in the party and hopefully recognize what they're good at and try to push them into situations that they can succeed in.
One interesting thing that I think I've seen with Leaf is that he's leader by virtue of no one else actually wanting to be in both as the players and in game. Saros, if you're hitting a mage, he's good. Otherwise, he doesn't really listen to what's going on a lot of the time with like everyone else. I'm a bit low. I'm just gonna just looked at myself like my chin's cut off on the screen. Sit up straight. Auric is, usually too busy reading books or casting spells or playing with his pet, whether that be Sloane or Gladstone. So he's, preoccupied. Sloane is just off hitting things. Nia's too busy looking for her boyfriend and being depressed. So it's not necessarily that you're like the leader, but you're just like, all right, guys, we got to do a thing. Can we just come get together? Here we go. You're more like a teacher wrangling children. I feel like half the time than actually, the leader. I really feel like Leaf kind of actually fills the role of the heart of the group really well, because you're the one that gets along with literally everyone. You've had really nice moments with Saros and Nia and Sloane. I don't know if someone can have a nice moment with Auric, so it's we'll get to you in a little bit. Shannon.
Yeah, we haven't.
Teach me
Leaf
how
and
to
Auric haven't
read,
gotten
okay?
to spend.
Yeah, well, yeah, you guys haven't had much chance to spend together, and I think the only reason he's teaching you how to read Sloan is because it's useful if his pet has a modicum of intelligence.
We'll
You
come
just-
back. We'll circle back to that because
Circle-
that's
yeah,
total. Well, that's not how we decided we were going to play that. So we'll come back to that.
I'm allowed to be. I'm allowed to be a little bit mean. Yeah. So while you're the definitely are the leader, I do really feel like you're also fulfilling the heart role really, really strongly. For those who don't understand what the 5-man band is, maybe I can point this across to Agent to answer that. Tell us what that is, and also tell us what inspired the creation of your character.
Sure. I just want to double down on one of your comments of Leaf being the leader. Is it's also that I think Leaf is the voice of often. He's kind of saying what the right thing that we should do is the group. Like, we all have our own motivations that are very, very selfish. And Leaf is got his own motivations, but he's often kind of like, I need to do this, but also like we should probably really save this village of burning children first. And we're all like, oh, fine. So the
What makes Leaf a terrible criminal?
Yeah. So the 5-man band is leader, lancer, smart guy, strong guy, and heart. Or smart person, strong person,
Big
and
guy,
heart.
big guy.
Big guy, big woman.
Wait.
So you can probably take your guesses on who everybody is in the party. Saros is the lancer, traveling alongside of Leaf as well, who has of course been the leader. Saros is kind of the one who's saying, why are we going to save these burning children? There's a mage we can go smash. Let's go smash mages. So Saros was originally actually built around the feat Mage Slayer, which I think is a really cool feat in D&D 5th edition that I've never really seen anybody take because it's very situational. If I'm not up against a mage, I'm not really very useful at doing anything. But against a mage, I'm very, very strong. So I really wanted to build a character around this. I really like the idea of a character who kind of hunts mages. I drew a little bit of inspiration from the early Dragon Age games, where there are Templars who are like, they kind of enforce the mage orders. But when Mike was deciding to kind of base Leaf around Mal from Firefly, I also looked to that for a lot of inspiration. So I took a little bit of Zoe and a little bit of Jane and kind of put some of their more mercenary style traits into Saros. Saros is doing the right thing a lot of the times. He's just kind of vicious about the way that he does it, which has been a really interesting character to play. I like playing characters with huge flaws, and I think this kind of weird zealotism that he has been really, really interesting to play. It kind of gives me an easy answer for a lot of things, but there's a lot more complex things with Saros that I expect we're going to explore as the seasons go on, and his secrets start leaking out from his boiled skin.
Looking at some of the questions we've got, I will answer them all soon. Let's just get through this round of things. So, Sean?
I am obviously the smart guy, or at least Auric is obviously the smart guy, I guess. I just remember when Nova pitched the smart guy to me, he was like, all right, well, you need to be really good at like skill checks, but like pretty much that's it. And I was like, oh, you kill characters often. It seems like a character meant to die. And that's when I was like, I'm going to need to play someone who can stop time and get away from things. And I had decided on the new Wild Mount subclass. But but besides that, though, kind of like, I guess, character inspirations for Auric. So when I first started making Auric, he's originally sort of just going to be a very Sherlock Holmes-like character was the original idea. particularly I was inspired by like those weird scenes in the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes, where he's just doing weird things when Watson finds him, like playing violin to flies or having anesthetized his dog, Gladstone. And then I was like, all right. And then I was trying to come up with Auric's voice and figuring that out, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna make him kind of take Sherlock Holmes and then remove a few more, even more layers of humanity from him, and that's where Auric was born. Sort of, I remember I watched a lot of videos of David from Prometheus before playing Auric, to get kind of get a little less human, I guess, for the sessions. But I also wanted the challenge of playing like a real elf, in the sense of like trying to be more realistic about someone who might live hundreds or thousands of years, and try to engage in like the way that their experience of time would be different and their experience of others. And I was like, I'm just gonna play that Sherlock Holmes inability to connect to super high levels, and that's where Auric was born. And then I wanted to give him like one sort of gem that was like, this is what ties him to reality, and that's has been hinted at a few times with his daughter, but not really explored too much. So yeah, just playing a bad dad. That's what I'm.
I have a question that, if you can remind me after we're done with Shannon, because I need to ask you something about Auric. So, Shannon, tell us about Sloan.
Yes. Sure. Okay. I'm trying to remember exactly like where she started, and I don't remember. So I'm gonna say that it was when we decided to do the 5-man band thing. And when I decided that, I was like, all right, I like the barbarian class, so I'll go with the big guy. So that's the class, that's where she was born. And then we decided to multi-class her, and we decided to go with the Wildmount Echo Knight fighter, which was really cool, and I really enjoy how that's playing out. I hadn't played anything from the Wildmount campaign yet, or the source book yet, so that was a lot of fun to learn all those new stats. And Nova and I did a lot of back and forth, and like pairing up all the abilities and making sure that she was as badass as possible. I think the next thing I decided on was her voice. And I decided that I wanted to try the Nordic accent, because I'd done it like maybe once before, but I hadn't really practiced it. So then I started watching a lot of Vikings, thanks to the recommendation of Sean. And so that I did a lot of research there and just found out, how freaking cool Viking warriors are. And I was like, all right, that's going to be my girl. And then as we were, kind of talking character design and personality, and she kind of just evolved into this raging machine, but also a really big sweetheart with a sweet tooth. And a lot of these little quirks came out in pre-stream sessions. Like Sean and I did a little like warm up, and it came out that she doesn't know how to read, and it just like happened in the moment, and I stuck with it, and I love that about her, and it's given us like some really fun stuff to play off of. And it also came out in one of our pre-stream games that she has a huge sweet tooth and loves creme brulees. And so that's just been a lot of fun to this huge, strong, muscular woman just walking around with like a cupcake, because she just loves sweet things. And the last thing that I really enjoy about it, well, not the last thing, one of the final things that I'll talk about, because I could talk about her for hours, is when we were rolling stats, and I rolled, or I think we had decided that we needed one stat below 10, or it just happened that way. But I knew that I wanted to put it in intelligence, but I didn't want to play it like dumb. I didn't want to be like, I don't know. I didn't want to be smart. I wanted her to play it more like naive. So she looks at the world just very like she's never been anywhere outside of her village before. So all of this is pretty new to her. So that's been a lot of fun. Oh, I lied. I have one more thing. She is very also inspired by Yasha from Critical Role. And just because I love her accent is similar, it's not the same, but the story's a little bit the same, and I just love the way that Ashley plays her. So I watch a lot of Yasha videos to get ready for Sloan.
Yeah, you do more of an Icelandic accent while she does more of a Norwegian accent.
Yes.
Pretty sure Ashley Johnson's like family's from Scandinavia, right? Like, there's
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I remember a Vox, what's it called? Talks Machina, where where Brian Foster's like, yep, and you know, my lovely partner's from there, so she's a crazy Viking woman. I was like, okay, makes sense.
I wouldn't have guessed with the Scandinavian last name Johnson.
Yeah, well, you know, that's how marriage
Good
works.
point.
Where you
That's
take
a good
names
point.
and stuff. I might be wrong. I could be completely wrong, but I remember it from somewhere. Right. I want to ask some of these questions that have been asked from the chat, but before I do, speaking of Bad Dad and how you perceive the passage of time in like a different way, you try to use divination, which is not your skill set, to look in on your daughter. Do you remember what happened?
I killed all plant life within 300 feet of me, and it was not good. And I only barely got a glimpse, barely got anything of what was happening, other than that she was suffering in some way or was scared.
Yeah. And that was like episode 7, maybe?
Something like that, yeah.
It
It was right after Sips left us the first time.
And then you've made like no further effort to look into it. Is that because you know, with how you perceive the passage of time and how you think, you know, in a lot longer terms, you're just like, I can get back to that and it'll be okay, because to you a week is a minute, right? Like you're hundreds of years old, and Star Elves are functionally immortal because they're closer to Fae than they are to you know, mortal elves.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think it's a combination of a lot of different things. And speaking of functional mortality, when I was preparing Auric, I looked up like what the theorized life expectancy would be of an immortal human, and it's roughly around 9,500 years. And I just thought that was interesting, so I also kind of was thinking about that. But anyway, Bad Dad stuff. Yes and no. So part of it is we really geared up into a lot of like this stuff, like immediate things that had to happen after that. Like I think it was only a couple episodes later that Nia's brother came into the situation.
Yeah.
But also, I tend to, in real life, I tend to look at something and say exactly that. I can deal with that later. Like that is a bad habit I have in real life of just being like, yep, okay, you text me, saw it, I'll do it later. Or I'll do it in 2 minutes, I'll even say, and I'll be like, it's gone. I look away
And
it's just left my brain entirely because I've become distracted by something new, and that is how I play
or
Auric
he falls
often.
asleep.
Yeah, I fall asleep a lot. Auric doesn't fall asleep a lot, but I fall asleep a lot. But yeah, I definitely a lot of Auric's actions are kind of based on that concept of I can leave that kettle boiling because I can get to it later. I have other things I can do in the immediacy, or even like a slight pragmatism of like, well, I can't do anything about that right now. I'll get back to it when it's more feasible. My favorite analogy from season 1 was that Auric essentially, when Auric left his daughter in one way or another, it was essentially the equivalent of the cliche of dad left to go get the cigarettes. It's just dad left and went to the Feywild for 25 years.
And learned how to play violin.
Yeah.
You already know how to do that.
So I'm gonna go through some of the questions we've got. So there's what happened to the Hellfire Bar from the last season. I believe that went off. I'll actually go back and watch the VODs to make sure. If it didn't, we will have to do something with that. Might fill up the Hellfire Bar right before episode 1. And then, you know, we can just see what happens when all hell breaks loose in episode 1.
Do it.
Do you mind if no, anything you want to use from what we do is fine. Yeah. You know, we're doing it live on stream. If I wasn't, you know, aware that people would be occasionally being like, oh, I like that idea, and taking it, it's fine. Whistler, you still gonna play Nia, or are you moving to a new character, the one with the wolves? Nia needs some time. She's been through some shit. If she wasn't already depressed before, I'm pretty sure she's like got a pretty bad case of PTSD. That girl has been captured or locked up 3 times in like 2 months. Maybe close to 3-4 months, but still. We have plans for Nia. She is going to be spending some time with Yako and his mate Tamel, who will be tending to Nia's wounds and giving her a fairly safe place to just learn to be herself without all the expectancies of what her family and her own neuroses are asking of her, and then without the dragon that's been, you know, residing inside her the entire time since that got excised. So yeah, she will be playing Relia for a while. Relia is a shaman, which is a bit of a homebrew class. It's very, very close to a Circle of the Shepherd druid, using the Tasha's Guide to Everything alternate class feature, where instead of, you know, having change shape, you take a familiar. It's more or less the same thing, but with a few tweaks that you'll learn, and I'll slowly release the class for everyone to look at and grill me on the imbalances, because that's how these things go. Enough of my friends have done it already. So yeah, there's that. That's what she's doing. And yes, she does have a giant doggo to help her out along the way, which I think is the only reason she wanted to play that class. So, we really, because we're like, yes. Is there 2 songs playing over the top of each other? Please hold. I'm going to stop the music and then start the music. Anyways, I was like, I can hear 2 separate songs at the same time, and it was really doing my head in. Yes, so moving along from Rosebarks, what would the players suggest for to a DM/group of new players who need to work on the backstories and plot? One of you can raise your hand to answer this. Go. No takers? There we go.
I can answer that a little bit. In terms of backstories, I mean, if you have access to, which book is it? The second. Oh my God! What is the second character book I'm thinking of? They've all got like the same name. Xanathar's Guide has that's exactly it. Xanathar's Guide has a lot of really good tables to go through if you just want to flesh out some very kind of basic stuff and punch in a bit of stuff. If you're playing with new players who have difficulty creating backstories and aren't really sure how to develop the characters, I think that's a really, really good spot to start with them. It helps things going. Otherwise, I would actually look up like theater actors, guides for theater actors on character development, because anyone who does theater acting, often when you get like assigned a character in a play, you can get these sheets. You can find, I'm sure, hundreds of examples of them online, where they ask you questions that are like, what were you doing 5 minutes before this scene? You know, what is a memory that you had with your father when you were like 5 years old? What was the first school that you went to? Stuff that is, you wouldn't really think are really important for that character, but they can just subconsciously inform a lot of decisions that someone makes. And if your characters are having a bit of trouble getting started with that stuff, those kind of exercises are a good place to start because, it's an imagination-based game. What you really just need to do is you need to kind of spark that flint of imagination and get one thing going that they go, oh wow, well if I went to this school and it was like a school of wizards, like, oh, maybe I had like a best friend at that school, and oh man, maybe like one time like we played a prank on the dean and then like, we got kicked out, but then we had to go through this like crazy adventure to make sure that the dean didn't expel us and throw out our whole frat house, and then next thing you know, you got like a teen romp movie entirely written and your character is ready to go. So those are the two main places I would recommend starting for new players.
I'd like to piggyback on that.
Yes.
Please, I raised my hand. Sorry. So I have a book called The Ultimate RPG Character Backstory Guide, and that was super helpful for me. I like prompts, like I like questions. Those really help me kind of flesh out what I want my character to do, to think, to feel, all those things. I also like to think about what kind of voice I want to use with my character, because that really helps me decide their personality. So if it's going to be a silly voice, they're going to be like a more lighthearted and fun character. And if it's not, then the opposite. I also really like to think about like my favorite books, my favorite movies, TV shows, anything that really inspires me. Music too. I like to listen to a lot of like film scores or video game scores, and I just kind of listen and write down what I'm feeling and just kind of like sift through everything that comes out of that, and my girls are bored.
There's there was 3 things I asked of you guys before. There's like your basic backstory. Do you remember what I asked from you guys to help tie everything together?
I do. I have it written in my character sheet because I didn't answer any of those questions. Let me go reference that right now.
You've been playing with me the longest, and you were the fucking worst.
You wanted it. I wrote down internal, external, and why you're staying with the party.
Yeah, so an internal motivation, an external motivation, and your party motivation. So like why you're with them. So, the deep-seated belief you hold that's helping drive you forward in the campaign. The external, so like what you're searching for, a threat, family, something, and then whatever's keeping you with the party. Answering those questions or having those 3 things, you'll find you have lots of other bits that will start to fall off. Like internal motivation. Oh, I really want to prove myself because why do I want to do that? Dad was always down on me because he favored my brothers and was going to, there had to be a reason for that. Oh, we're gonna get like a position in the family or tribe. So like it just grows. Like if you ask questions of yourself, they will grow, and I find those are something that really are a good start for it. To continue on playing on the first question, how would you, Nova, suggest working them together? Really, it comes down to what you tell the party, I think, before they make their characters. Like, the game will be set here. This is what, like, your session 0. This is where the story will be. This is what the basic thing is. You have to find a reason to be there and not have me just make one up, because that is really hard. If you go to a party and be like, make some characters, and then I'll give you a story, you'll find like one guy's a lone wolf, one guy's trying to be the strongest there is, one person's out to research some stuff, and all of a sudden you get to a point and someone goes, oh, I need to go to this library, and the strongest there is says, no, we're going to go help this battle over here because I want to fight. And those two will be at odds, and they'll look to the third person to make that tiebreaker, and that is not a good situation because someone's going to feel hard done by. So always come to your players with the idea of what you want to do, and then have them sort of tie into it, because then they are doing what they want to do as opposed to what you want to do, which is a better position to be in, I believe. We have 3 other, well, I guess 4 now, because Shannon's DM now. we have a bunch of other DMs here. Do you guys agree with that, or do you think there's some other secret tool that works better?
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. Having some, I've made that mistake before. Semi made that mistake in our Paradise stream where we had a lot of characters with motivations that were a little too lone, and it did cause some conflicts. Thankfully we were able to pretty easily recover it, but that's not always the situation. You're not usually that lucky in those situations. It requires people who really care about each other and making sure each other shines on the screen for that, or at the home table, to recover from something like that. Otherwise you can have a disaster where the table disappears, a month later because someone's upset or something just didn't work out well. But making sure that players, because like a big thing for me, I think, is because some people come to the table and they have certain attitudes, and this is where like making sure the DMs and the players and all the players are on the same page is important with character creation. Because some people come to a table with like, one person has a hyper realistic understanding of RP and they're just like, well, I'm not an adventurer. And then suddenly there's a problem because they won't do anything because they don't see themselves as an adventurer. So you need to make sure everyone's on the same page about who your party is. Make sure there's no one at the table who's resisting the concept of D&D too much, that you are a party that's going to be together in some way, because that can cause so many problems. And generally speaking, with backstories as well, DM and player should be on the same page about what that backstory looks like, especially if you're starting at level 1. Like, how much backstory is there? Especially when you come up with a really elaborate backstory, and if your character doesn't reflect that, it can be frustrating for you as a player sometimes. So, like, knowing those expectations coming in is super important for character creation and party cohesion.
Anyone want to add anything else before we move on?
Yeah, I think I also think that because I usually tell people, like, go off, write the story that you believe of your past, go do whatever you want with that, as much or as little as you want, give it to me, and then as we play I will ask you questions down the road to get a better, because the thing that what I want as a DM, and this might help players, what I want the most from you as a player is what you want and what you're striving for, more than anything else, because I can make you do anything once I know that. And we can make any adventure so much about you as long as I know that, like, this person, a lot of players will naturally find their way to wanting to go down the path that the party is going down. But for someone who's having trouble and being like, I can't see a reason that I would want to go that way, that internal desire is just so good for a DM to really just get everybody on the same page. So I've had players who have a backstory that is just like, I left home because I thought it would be fun. That's all. That's the only reason I left. And then, so at level 1, that's it. I want to see the world. And I think that's a lot of books and movies, start that way. And then the question is, down the road, as you level up, then there's always more time to add information. So you don't have to feel too much pressure to have everything nailed down. You're going to have no idea if any of the stuff that you put down is going to work until you start saying it. And if you're in conversation with your DM and you say, hey, that thing I said at the top, we haven't explored it yet, and I don't like it anymore, so we're throwing it out, and being flexible like that too. It doesn't have to be nails in the coffin every time you make a decision in your backstory.
Same thing as a DM. When you're like doing an arc and you're suddenly like, none of this is working. None of this is going to work. Let's just throw that out and move it this way, move it over here. Same thing can happen with players.
A lot of times with the DM side of that, it's you've got an arc and the players start doing something, you're like, that's better. You just start like making extra notes to be like, they'll come to a conclusion which is completely incorrect from all the evidence you've laid before them, but you're like, I kind of like it. Yeah, you did get all that right. That's definitely what's meant to be happening here, and you just kind of run with it. For the players, I agree with Mike. Having that sort of ideas there. I think Agent said the same thing in the chat. You know, do you ask those questions level 1 or close to level 5? I think if you're gonna have very new players, level 1's a good idea, and then as you get to level 3, like you said, that's when like your archetype, your job, your role comes into it, and you kind of got to make sure you fit that. It's a good time to ask it. If you've got really experienced players, I like to start at level 3 because that way you've already kind of got your defined role, and then people start trying to multi-class after that, and you get to kind of ask the question then, why are you doing that? What's driven that to it? Or you could be crazy like I sometimes do and just be like, hey, we're starting at level 10. What's up?
Players love building a character from level 1 to 20 with like an extensive plan of not necessarily what they're going to take at every level, but they have this idea of how their entire character arc is going to happen. And by the time they get to like level 3, sometimes level 2, a lot of that gets thrown out the window, and they realize like, oh, that's not going to be the case. And maybe they just have some events happen to them, or they get some specific magical gear that makes them go like, oh, I'm not going to go down that road. I'm going to go down this completely other path. And yeah, it's really helpful to be kind of like, I don't know, flexible on that and just always be revisiting it.
Yeah, this is a game of collaborative storytelling. So I would also say have a relationship with your DM so that you can constantly like go back and forth and like, hey, I'm thinking about this. What do you think? Do you think it would work, or should we try something else? I think that's super important to develop your character as well.
Yeah, you know,
I
like
love it as
moving
a
their
DM.
stats into strength later on, so they can multi-class.
Okay, you know what? Exactly. Yeah, because it was
not
for
randomly,
story
for story.
reasons. Yeah, yeah. Watch it. I had reasons, and I defended those reasons.
And I agree
Did
with
I
them.
not?
Moving into strength, which she's just been lifting, and that's it. She's
Exactly.
just going to the gym 4 times a week, an hour a day,
and just
time.
becoming a little less wise.
She just sits there looking in the mirror every few days, like, yeah, I can be angry.
I can finally be a barbarian.
She didn't go to the gym. She was at the forge working on it. So reasons.
If I could just revisit the kind of original question, which was like, how do you get everybody on the same board? Sean made a comment about like everybody has to be an adventurer in the party, so to speak, or they have to want to be adventuring. I think an important thing, certainly in the way that I've DM'd, because I typically DM in like short modules, is literally give the players something right off the top that binds them together. You know, when we did the Ruffians campaign, I looked at you guys and said, you all have to have a reason why you're serving in the King's army. Like, you have to have a reason. It can be money, it can be fame, fortune, you love the king. I don't care what it is. I mean, I do care, but you just have to have a reason why you're all unified right off the bat, you know? In the Wonders and Blunders podcast, Mike said, you're all on a caravan. Figure out why you're on this caravan, you know? And I think that kind of thing is especially if you're new, or even just right off the top, having a reason that all the characters are traveling together right away, even if it's like, spoiler alert, this is going to happen. Either establish that right away, or establish it in like the first couple of sessions where some sort of event binds their fates all together. Maybe they're all marked by the gods or something. Use whatever trope or cliche or whatever you want, but something that forces your characters to share a common denominator, I think is a really, really like just important thing to have.
I will answer this one from Rosebox because it's kind of the tail end of this whole bit, and then I got to go to the questions we've got on this page that were asked in Discord. But I will come back to everything from the chat. I just want to get through a few of these as well. So as a shy DM, how do you get that relationship without being awkward? Be friends. That's all. If you can't be friends with your players, it's gonna be really tough. And look, I've been streaming D&D for like a while, 2.5 years, a year and a half here, year somewhere else. And I'm still very shy at my home games. I still feel very awkward doing accents and stuff. It's a little easier when you're in a room by yourself and there's no one around to laugh at you. But you know, yeah, that's more or less it. Just be friends, get used to the weird, and enjoy yourself.
Yeah, and if you sometimes you just don't end up playing with someone, because that doesn't really work, and the awkwardness moves from awkward to uncomfortable. You know, it's okay to be awkward in D&D. We're all very awkward. And, you know, one of my stipulations I'd made in the very first game I ever DM'd was just like, no one should make anyone else feel uncomfortable or bad about what they're trying and what the new things they're trying.
I have removed more players from games than I've kept in the course of my 10 years playing D&D and other role-playing games. Party will start with 5 players, we'll go down to 2, we'll get 3 more, it'll go down to 3, and eventually you get the team that will work together. And it's not always, sometimes it is like, you're an asshole, go away. But most of the time it's just, you know, hey, we're not here to play the same game. You know, you just, not that we didn't enjoy playing with you, but this isn't the game that fits what you're trying to get out of it. And people can get upset, but it's not meant to be an insult. It's not meant to be a bad thing. It's just, you're not the DM for them, they're not the player for you, and that's all it is.
Session zeros are essential.
Yes.
Yeah, they're
there is
so
a
big.
video on our channel about that. Thank you, Sean. Right. So I'm going to get through 3 questions from this thing here. This document I have from our Twitter, Discord, all that sort of stuff, and then I'll go back to the chat. Shannon, as the person that is trying very hard to be the question writer, can you just add them to the bottom of the document that we've got? Because that way everyone else can still have fun stealing your thunder in the Zoom chat. But you
I thought that's where you wanted me to put them, so that's where I was put it. Fine.
I did want you
Fine.
to put them there. I'm just giving you. I'm sorry, Shannon. Anyways, where do you see your characters developing throughout? Oh no, I've jumped on ahead. How different are your characters from where they started off from the start of season 1 compared to now? For Nia, I'm going to answer that for her as not coping. Not at all. She was like, that I had Whistle, if you can do me a favor, there's a picture you drew of like the start of session 1 when Nia's like, this is gonna be great, everyone's so nice, and there's the end of session 1 and you're just like, oh my god, what's happened? If you could post that like anywhere, I don't know, Twitter or like here or something, great. Because that's pretty much Nia. At the start of every episode, she's like peppier than the end of it, and it's just been this slope for her. Now it does make me sound like a complete arsehole DM, so I just wanna add in here that Whistle asked for it. Both figuratively and literally. She's gone, these are my characters, I like having this sort of stuff, I want to have this sort of thing, here's what the potential trauma, and then I talked to her about how that would unfold. And yes, excuse me, I was like, wait, don't you come at me with this, because I have chats, I have screenshots I can share.
I absolutely did.
And then yes, so yeah, it's generally this thing of I always get player consent with things before I do it. Yep, Shannon's there going, hey, I've said you've got a thing. Are you okay with me running with this a little bit? It might be a bit darker. Yeah, cool. Give me trauma. You girls are crazy. All the the guys are like,
It's
look, I don't
so great. It's so much fun to play. And like all of my characters have tragic backstories.
Yep.
It's just yeah, Sean.
We ran a mid-season one shot, me just being Shannon. That was just this like destroy my character, Sean.
Literally.
So that I can have season 2 of Paradise with even more trauma.
Yep.
Most of the guys I've played with, when things happen, they're like, can we get some wins? Or I don't really like seeming like the bad guy, or this, or something like that. And then Shannon's just like, give me more. I want to murder people and feel bad about it. I'm like, okay. All right. Like, the only person that hasn't felt bad about things that gone on really is Auric, but that's because he doesn't have emotions like a regular person. I think in one of the preseason thing, you cast a spell on a gate and it slammed, like cut a dude in half, and you're like, oh well. And I'm like, he had a family, like, nah.
I think the precise thing I said was like, I think Auric tried to say you crack a few eggs when you're making an omelet.
Yeah.
And it just came off real creepy.
But yes, so that's Nia. I only know that because I talk to Whistle so often. It's like every second day we have an hour or so conversation. But yeah, okay, let's go around, starting from Sean. How do you see yourself from where you were at the beginning to the start of season 2? Beginning season 1 to start of season 2.
That's a really good question. So I think Auric, I think the easiest way to explain it, because Auric is not always going to show it in his actual like speaking with others or behavior that anything has changed, is one, he started the season feeling very in control of his life and very in control of his destiny, and very much like, I'm the master of my own world. I even in like our pre-season sessions, he would be like, antagonize Saros about the gods and how it's like the gods don't really matter, and by now he's like, I think the gods might matter. And he's lost a lot of control. Like it might not even seem like it necessarily always externally, but like even just in the mid, the break sessions, like he lost a lot of control even just in 2 sessions, and that is messing with him and slowing him down, I think, in a way that like makes him maybe not behave more like a mortal, but he's working on mortal timelines a little bit more, I think, now, because of he's seen like what he can lose beyond just his daughter, but also like even just like his interactions with Sloane, like when he like would say like, you told me to be more this way and I am trying to be more this way, because these are conversations I might have in the future with my real biological daughter. And that's mostly how he's changed, is he's very slightly become more human, and more so become more afraid of losing his powers and control.
He also became a god.
He also became a spider
spiders.
god.
Yeah.
Yes, he did gain a cult following. And he is learning how to be a god now. In addition to a father, he's really learning how to be a spider dad first before a person dad.
Yeah, this is the part of the movie where he realizes that he had fatherly instincts all along while ruling over a culture of spider people. And then he's like, I am ready to be a dad. Thank you, spider army.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay. Next up, we'll have Shannon. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, yeah. How is your character going?
So when we started season 1, Sloane was, just naive, and I still think she is naive, but she's seen some shit now. Like at the beginning of season 1, she had been traveling with Auric for, I don't know, like, what do we say, like 4 months or so, before we met up with the party. And like, so she was just kind of taking everything in and kind of just following his lead. And then we met up with the party, and she's got more friends now, and she's never really had friends before. She had the people in her tribe, but it was more like they only liked her when she was, raiding and doing what she was supposed to be doing. But these people like her for who she is. So that's awesome. So she's also like, I love when we were playing with Dingo and Sips was here, and like Sips and Auric were having moments, and I just decided in the moment that Sloane was going to get insanely jealous. But I loved that. So she's learned to be even more protective of her friends, and Auric in particular, just because they've known each other a little bit longer. And she's also struggling a lot more with this whole like with this voice that's inside her that's telling her to kill everyone and everything, because she doesn't want to be that person. She really likes to be she really likes to be, you know, she likes to fight. She likes the I don't know, I don't know the word I'm looking for. She likes to be in the fighting pits. Those are some of her favorite things to do, but she doesn't like to, you know, kill, you know, in combat. So, but every time she tries to like talk to somebody about it or kind of like question it herself, there's a voice inside her that's like, no, you're fine. This is who you are and this is who you have to be. So that's been really interesting to play, and I'm looking forward to playing that out more this upcoming season.
And Mike is Leaf.
Leaf is not actually a whole lot different from the start of season 1, I don't think. A lot of things have happened. I mean, physically, yes. Physically, the arm come off, the arm come back. He's cursed.
Mental trauma that went with that, I believe.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think anything for him is worse than what has already happened to him.
Fair.
And he, for a long time, has been on I think the biggest thing that changed is that before he met up with this group, he was just on a path that he was just going to walk on until he eventually met his end, probably deservingly, was kind of how he was thinking of living out the rest of his days. And now, because of this group and because of what they're doing, he is on a path again, however reluctantly. And I think that is the thing that's stirring within him now, is that they've done something important. Whether or not what they did was perfect or even good, it is important, and they are on the right side of it, is what he believes. And so he has found himself back in a position that he has spent a long time trying to escape. And so there's a responsibility over him again, which is, I think, what he's going to be exploring in season 2.
Okay. I, for one, am super keen to find out more about what's happening with Leaf and how he's coping with things and all the rest. Because like we've had sort of arcs about characters kind of already, right? We've had the Sloane and Nia arc is like kind of happened last season. There's a lot about their characters and their development, where Leaf kind of had things happen, but it was all like periphery. Like they were big, like you died, but you know, it was also, they're like, oh, he's back now and it's fine. And you're like, I'm not fine, guys. Like things are happening, but you're quiet behind the other stuff. So I'm keen to see that take to the forefront at some point. Anyways, Agent.
I love how every time Mike talks about Leaf and how he's like, oh, I'm finally back on a path. I guess I was just destined to roam around with Saros for a long time. How garbage was my life there? I'm always like, oh, we're friends.
No, we were doing our fighties and killies and steelies, and that's what he was doing to distract himself from the real life that he has to do.
Yeah, I guess that's true. That's true. Saros has gone through a lot in this season. The whole like dying twice and not dying sort of thing. The skin bubbling up and then being electrocuted and cloud of daggers to a million pieces. You know, so physically he looks pretty much like a ghoul from Fallout now, which is kind of interesting. In terms of mental state, also, like a lot has changed. Obviously, he was going around kind of on this pretty clear path from his goddess Ophelia to say, you know, strike out mages, and then everything else from him, it was just like filler, like white noise static in his life. You know, if he looked back on his life, it would just be snapshots of smash and skulls. And then he's met Auric, who has been a mage who possesses all of the traits that he hates in a mage. He's reckless, he's experimental, he's unsafe, he's arrogant. He plays with things like well beyond his power, but at the same time, he's also using a subset of magic that Saros has never seen before, that breaks all the rules of what he understands about magic. He's been quite kind to him, and for whatever reason, his goddess has also not told him to kill him. So there's a lot of things that Saros understands kind of to be true, or had understood to be true about his meaning and his purpose and everything else, that kind of Auric's very existence keeps breaking. And we've had a lot of fun with this, especially even in this little like intermission campaign between seasons of like, they keep trying to have nice moments with each other, but also like they can't stop butting heads. And Saros is just dealing with a lot of that internally as well, because he's like, this is breaking a lot of things that's going on. You know, he got saved by death. He got saved by one of the ferrymen of death on that horrible boat adventure. And that has given him a huge like cause for concern as well. Yeah, I'm very excited to explore kind of some of Saros' stuff. He's covered in magic ink tattoos and has started absorbing magic from every single thing around him, in a way that his rock kind of sort of did, but only very, very rarely. Like I had to trigger an effect that I had to kind of charge up to do, and now it's become this like uncontrolled thing. So yeah, a lot's going on in Saros' wrinkly old brain, and I'm really excited to see kind of what the next season, see how many more times I can cheat death. I expect to die in probably 2 episodes.
I think that Saros and Auric have like a Dwight and Jim relationship, but like we're both characters.
I absolutely love the recap where where Auric's just like talking pretty calm, and then just like, and then he used my magic and it went wrong, and it's completely to be expected. He has no idea what he's doing. And Yako's just like, oh God, you two kids. All right. So, moving on to the next question. Where do you see your character developing throughout season 2? What direction would you like to see them go? We'll do the same path around, and then I'm going to go to some specific questions that people had for you guys as individuals. So, Sean, how do you see this going?
I think that the more things that get stripped away from Auric's control, I think the more desperate he will become. And I think the more
Murdered by Saros he'll become.
The more murdered by Saros he'll become. But I think the
For
more
me first.
I think there's going to be a clash in his mind of, for the first time in his life, things are going to feel sudden. Things are going to feel urgent for the first time in his many years of existence. He doesn't know how old he is even. So the first time in his entirety, he'll be like, oh no, like I have to do things, not just for the party's purposes, but for my own purposes. And like, I'm running out of time and I don't know how that feels. I don't know how to react to that feeling. And I think that will either, depending on how the game goes, of course, depending on how his relationship with the other characters, he's going to become either increasingly desperate, or I guess no matter what, he'll probably become increasingly desperate, but it's how he reacts to that. It's either going to become horrifying for him and everyone, or horrifying for everyone. Maybe, I don't know. It's just going to become, I feel like this season almost feels pivotal, where Auric is like either going to become a little more well-adjusted, or is going to run the risk of Saros killing him because he goes down a wrong path or something like that.
Gotta get through those spiders first.
It's true. This is the pathway to Auric becoming the big bad with his spider army. He's like what's happened to Auric sounds like a bad guy origin story. Like disillusioned from family, becomes god of the spiders. So yeah.
Yeah, there's
Desperation
a lot
is
of
ahead of
conflict
him.
brewing, isn't there? Between Nia and Sloane and Auric and Saros, and there's Leaf in the middle to be like, guys, stop! Can't we all just get along? Shannon, tell us about where you think Sloane's going to go.
Oh, so she's been struggling a lot with that voice, like I was saying before. So I think she's going to spend some time thinking about that and trying to figure out where it's coming from. It was briefly touched on last season. We know it has something to do with her sword. So I think she's going to want to explore that more. And I think she's going to reach a point where she has to make a choice. Like she has to decide, is she going to keep this sword that's giving her all of these powers, or is she going to like cast it aside and choose her friends? So I think she's going to be struggling with that decision a lot this season, and that'll be just a really interesting internal conflict for her to play out, because every time she's tried to talk about it with somebody, the voice overwhelms her, and it takes over and it just makes her think, no, everything's fine. So hoping to see how she does with that this season, and if she grows and can do it.
Okay. Mike?
Leaf is going to die. Who knows if he comes back again this time? I think there's two. I think like Leaf has some backstory stuff that I don't think has been explored or talked about, so I won't go into anything about that here. But I think he's going to be after some. I think this path that he's on is leading him ever closer to this thing that he wanted all along, that he did not think was possible for a very long time and now is starting to believe is. And then after that, he's jumping into the closest pit to hell to go get his wedding ring and his sword back.
I forgot you don't have your sword.
Yeah, my sword's gone.
Whoops.
Sword's buried in the
Yes.
top of a dragon who went to hell.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so last up we have you, Kieran.
Yeah,
How do you see this going?
I want to go straight into hell. Help Leaf get his sword and his ring back, both of which I am kind of to blame for, and feel really bad about. How do I see season 2 going? I know we're gonna spend a lot of time in a city doing lots of political stuff. So I one of the big things I think Saros is gonna have a grapple with is literally his own physical repulsion. I'm down to like 4 charisma right now and have all my stuff burned off. So like we haven't gotten into like Saros's tattoos or anything yet. Again, there's a lot of backstory about Saros that hasn't really kind of come up, and why he does a lot of the things that he does. So I'm expecting we're gonna see a bit more of that kind of come out in season 2, and he's going to be more than just mages, because he always has been a bit more than that. But that's obviously the easy thing to kind of latch onto and play with, which is very fun. So yeah, I mean, assuming I don't die in an episode or two, how are we going to deal with being in a city? How am I going to deal with being a freak? I think we're going to like the city of, I believe we're going back to the city where all the mages are illegal and magic is illegal. That's my understanding. I'm not sure if I'm correct on that, sort of.
I'll get to all that in a little bit.
Yeah, there's all sorts of fun drama and stuff in the world's relationship with magic and Saros's relationship with magic, and the fact that I keep eating spells from people now, and like, what does that make me? Am I becoming the thing I hate? he kind of tried to use Auric's magic almost as a way to understand it, thinking it was safe, and then ate Nia's magic in the same kind of breath. So his whole relationship to magic is really coming into question, and what's going on. So I'm just I'm really excited. I'm really excited to play through all of that. I don't know what's gonna happen. That's the easy answer. I don't know. I have no idea what's gonna happen.
A lot of breakfasts with Auric as he copies the spells down from your arm.
Yeah,
All
for
right.
sure.
So questions I got. What are the challenges you face introducing a new character to an established party? What are the opportunities that it brings? It was super easy, actually. These guys had to, Shelby wanted to play a shaman. They were in a forest. I was like, okay. You just walk past. It was nothing fancy. More or less, they wandered past, and she was like, "Sorry, my pets ate your horses. Let me help you get home, and I'll owe you one."
Chestnut. Oh, Chestnut.
And then she's gonna show up at some point and be like, "Yo, I owe you that favor, right? Let me help out. You don't seem to have a competent healer here." So that'll probably be her whole thing. She's a wilderness woman, and she's gonna be spending some time in a city, so she's gonna have a very fish out of water mini arc herself. And that, I guess, that's one of the opportunities I get to do, because she's from the culture that has been unfriendly with Etredale, which is this like sort of nightly human civilization. So she'll be able to fill all these people in on a lot of stuff, and also, just have that sort of like cultural differences where each side doesn't really like the other and argue back and forward and throw insults around, and so that'll be interesting. The other question is, what are some of the main ways you've taken the concepts and ideas from Tyranny of Dragons and repurposed them to fit your homebrew world and the story of the Scales Above? That is definitely a question. I pretty much went through the book. I went through the book and just went, okay, so the heroes would be doing this thing. I don't want these guys to follow the exact path. I want them to be sort of alongside it. So they're going to constantly be hearing about how a group of heroes did a thing, and they have to sort of interact with it. There's whole sections of the book that are kind of taken out as these guys go through different bits, and they'll meet up where the book is later. I'm sorry, Rosebucks. I will talk slower. I got excited. What the question was, what are some of the ways you have taken the concepts and ideas from Tyranny of Dragons and repurposed them to fit your homebrew world and the story of the Scales Above? So Scales Above is a Tyranny of Dragons adjacent campaign. These guys and girls will be always to the side of it. They'll be visiting locations, interacting with characters, but never in the more direct ways. The most direct way they've done is with the warden of a town. I renamed the town. I'm pretty sure the warden had the same name, but for the most part, that's there. Nerenvain is definitely a character from the book. Played fairly straightforward, except instead of going to where Nerenvain the dragon were, they went to where Kiora in this temple was and her crazy experiments. That particular question, like I'm kind of just trying to give you very small points off the top of my head, because I have like a 25-page document of just the first season about like how I've split it, and like kind of to keep me on track so I don't accidentally just say too much from the book. The idea with this campaign is I wanted to use the events of that book, but still make it so that you could watch this and not have the entire story ruined, and you could then go play Tyranny of Dragons yourselves and have a very, very different experience with it, because we aren't taking a direct path through the book. You're not going to go and read that and play that and be like, oh, I saw them do this, so we'll be doing that at some point. Apart from meeting that warden and Narenvain, not much is the same. It's all taken from someone looking in on the events as opposed to being part of those events for the most part. I hope that explains it well enough. The next thing here I have is what do the cast predict the story of season 2 will be, or what directions do you think it would take? Now,
PPK.
I will answer some questions here about it. If you guys have questions, I'll take it from the chat as well, specifically what season 2 will be. I won't try to spoil it all, but you know, it's hard being a DM. You got all this stuff in your head. And you're like, I want to talk to someone about it. So if you have theories, go for it. I can tell you that there's the campaign plot, the season plot, and there's like a B plot. There's 3 main arcs, and then there's your individual character things in there as well. So there's a lot going on.
Is the B plot a comedic relief plot starring the Kidder Bee?
It is.
Is it the B plot? The Kidder Bee plot?
Oh.
Now I'm writing this down right now. And
Anyways, and then Saros died.
thank you. I'll be here all week.
I use a
So-
meteor in our home game.
So, if anyone has any theories they want to throw out there, start raising your hand and talking, I guess. If you have no questions, yes, Mike?
Okay, we're going to go to the city. We are going to visit every single house so that you build the city. And then we all stand back and watch while you drop action figures of dragons on top of it and destroy every single place and every person that we ever met.
Do you want to see the guest star?
Badly.
Since you just said all this.
There's a house.
Oh my god.
You got it. You bought it. Yes.
Oh, it's...
Oh my god.
So I was right.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I'm
That's
getting
the
one.
call.
No,
Oh.
no. We don't need one.
This is roughly the this is halfway between a human and a halfling mini. It is
Oh,
Wow.
very, very
holy
big.
shit.
So
I mean, it's the size of my goddamn head. So yeah.
I like that it's got the chains on it already for Leaf to just get up on top of that
Yeah.
and like yeehaw.
Wingspan.
Yeehaw. Yeah.
well, that
Yeehaw.
is Leaf
Uh,
already.
Yeehaw
back
intensifies.
Oh my god.
Rootin'
Yeah,
tootin' and
I
dragon
echo
swooping.
Whistle here. I would like to request the season off. I do not want to fight that.
Okay, so that was a thing. Yeah, so fairly close. You are going to head to Echelon and sort of get introduced to certain houses so you can sort of see how the city functions. I still have a lot of writing to do in that regard. It's been a busy few weeks, so I haven't done anywhere near enough prep for that. So I've got a few sleepless nights ahead of me. But I'll get that done, and then yeah, you're gonna. That's very much the season plot. You doing political stuff and sorting out things, because do you guys remember what one of the big thing for this whole campaign is? Like, do you remember what the big bad guys potentially are?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you wanna-
Oh, it's the
Goes off?
it's the dragons. It's the big heads of Tiamat. But also the cult that is bringing Tiamat into this, trying to bring Tiamat into, trying to resurrect the heads of Tiamat.
Okay.
Which we experienced one of them already at the end with the green dragon that we bamped into hell.
Where we also
Second
saw the
weakest
red
one,
dragon.
Yes.
We
walking
did.
around in
That's
the
right.
background.
We did also see the red dragon.
Yeah.
We also, I think,
But we know that also
There's also just some-
something else is out
Exactly.
there.
there's
Because there was somebody that showed up at that meeting that was like, if you stop the heads from coming, then you're all gonna die.
Yeah.
So you need
Well,
to
it was
make sure
also-
that you bring it.
What's that guy's name?
When we started to compare prophecies. That's right.
Also
But we
quickly
remember we
yes, that.
started to look at everyone's individual like prophecy things that we didn't see all of, but we were just
Oh,
like,
right.
all right,
Right.
let's
right,
translate, and we were translating things, and
That's right.
we were like, oh, and there's a whole kind of prophecy there that has these riddles in it that are like something. There's hints at, like you said, like Tiamat is not the only problem, and that potentially doing whatever we do with Tiamat is going to affect other things that could be worse or better or probably worse. There is
Can
some
always get worse.
darker presence.
Yeah, so you guys need allies is a big part. So it's kind of been talked about before that you guys have to make sure everything gets along, because this isn't a problem that like a few people just solve, right? This is armies and nations needing to help fix this. So try get the whole cast to cry. I've done that before. Heart of the Plains on the YouTube channel. Go watch.
I was
if you
literally
feel
just
like
writing that out.
So yeah, if you guys fail to help, because it's not all your fault, right? Nations don't also
thanks.
just like don't fix their issues by like, oh, that wizard said that maybe we should stop fighting. I guess that's what we do. You know, they will but you can assist that, and that could help you succeed in your ventures. But if you help in breaking it, it's a lot easier to break something than it is to fix things, especially politically. So if you cause harm, yeah, you could be indirectly causing cataclysmic events.
We never cause harm.
No,
We never misunderstand things.
not you. Yes, yeah, you'll have to wait and see about that one, Reynard. Yeah, so that's pretty close to the season thing. You guys kind of already knew a bit of that. That was one of the only things you kind of did get a bit of warning on. Do you have any other theories about what might be happening? Chat? Whistle thinks that the cult's trying to bring Tiamat back to resurrect Bahamut, which maybe.
Yeah, I think that's part of one of the things we were reading about, because I'll say the translations you've given us, and even like some of the individual prophecy things that people have and research things, they're, I think, beautifully cryptic, in a way that is just enough to make us think 1,000 different things, and just and I love it, because I remember as soon as we started translating from that one time, I was like, I immediately started to like write things down, and I was like, wait, this could mean this could mean that, this could mean this. Wait, what?
Just off screen, Sean has a chalkboard with pins and like string
Here, it's like it's the darkness, the
guys.
hungering,
Yeah.
the shining brother.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, there's a lot of prophetic things which will help you understand the overarching campaign story. So yeah, that'll be interesting. What direction do you think this will go? Where do you think you're going to end up towards the end of this season?
Dead.
Stop saying that. We're not gonna die.
Going straight to hell.
Hell
Maybe not all
Unleashed.
of us.
Hell unleashed.
Hell unleashed.
I think
I mean, kind of, yeah.
it will start. The end of the world will start.
With
We'll
all
bring
of
about the
those
apocalypse.
big monsters and stuff walking around in hell when we were down there, and the big red dragon, I could definitely see them cracking open some sort of gate and hell spewing out. We already know
By
there's
accident.
all those demons just west of Etralone that have been like fighting the barbarians. So, oh my god, no, this is a bad idea. I'm gonna stop talking.
Yeah,
Agent,
the world
they
will be
aren't
ripped
fighting the
asunder.
barbarians. The demons with
Are
the
the
barbarians.
With the barbarians, right?
The demons are the barbarians.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
What?
just
Does that mean I'm a demon? A demon?
that's why people didn't like you at the start, because you're from the same nation that
Yeah.
they were from. They were like, "Yo, are you here to like kill everyone?" You're like, "No, I just want candy." Like,
I think we're going to show up in this town. Here's my season 2 thoughts. I think we're going to show up in this town. We're going to run into Bob. We're going to be like, Bob, what happened? We left you in Duskfall with all these promises and things that we didn't do for you. And he's going to be like, oh, it's okay. I opened up a shop down here in Etralone and things are going really well. Would you like some ice cream? And we'll be like, we love ice cream. What a great time
What is
we're
ice
having
cream?
here.
I want that. That sounds delightful.
And then we'll open up a bar.
Yes, perfect.
I think more likely that Bob is going to ride in, like, carried by swaths of demons and devils, having taken his rightful place as the demon lord to get revenge on specifically us for ruining his life.
Except for Leaf. He's gonna keep Leaf because he
As
likes
a kitty cat pet.
yeah, exactly.
I'll sit in his lap while he like evilly scratches my head.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to fight some of those like Sun Knights again too, for sure. Because last
Oh,
time we
yeah,
got
they're gonna come
we
back.
got chased out of a city by like the super paladins of Etradale. And
That's
also
true. We are quite wanted.
Leaf and Saros are like
Quite
extra double, triple wanted. In this
We've
province.
murdered a lot of people on accident and
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
purpose.
We're just gonna knock the ticker right over. Like there's a ticker that's just going up, all the numbers are going up, and eventually it hits
Buffer
999,
overflow.
it goes back to 0, and then we win crime.
funny thing about you killing lots of people and Whistle is she's like, I have never killed anyone. I'm like, haven't you? You've been part of a lot of fights. It's like, no, but I haven't killed anyone. I'm like, look, if you filled them with ice shards and then Auric walked past and like just sort of pushed them over and they died, you killed them. Like, they were bleeding out because of you. He just happened to be walking by.
Yeah, I just push people. I just
Yeah.
push and pull.
Just
That's all I
as
do.
much a murderer as the rest of you. Everyone's just like, she's so sweet. I'm like,
It's the Batman justification. Like, oh, you threw that man off a bridge. Oh, gravity killed him. I'm not a killer.
yeah, pretty much.
You ruined his life.
Life is the
The-
key word. He's not dead.
Yeah, there's lots of little bad guys and things going on. So things you guys know or should know, especially people that like studied a lot, like Auric has, or know lots about religion, like Leaf and potentially Saros. You're a bit shaky on certain parts of religion. You're more like, my god, fuck the rest.
Yeah.
And then there's Sloan, who's just like, what's a book?
Excuse me, she knows what a book is, she just doesn't know what it says. But we're working
Yes.
on it.
No clue what's inside it, but
We're working on
You
it.
shouldn't be eating that paper. So
She doesn't eat paper. Ugh.
she hasn't got hungry enough yet. I'm
Yeah,
sure
just
if
the
I'm sure if-
napkins that are
I'm
around
sure if
cinnamon buns
someone,
and stuff.
like-
She doesn't eat.
Uh,
No.
I'm
Shannon,
sure if
do you
someone
think
gave
that
you
she's
a
used-
sugar shaker and you had a book there, you'd be like, nom nom nom.
but Shan,
So-
do you think she's
Doesn't
used written documents as like napkins before?
Yes, but she doesn't fucking eat them. Sweets are for eating. Paper is not.
Papers for cleaning.
I need someone to like get some origami to make it like a cupcake, and she'd just be like, I'm so confused. Anyways, one thing you guys will know and should know, and the audience can learn a bit about my world as we're here. About 550, 600 years ago, one of the gods pretty much went, all right, interplanar travel is causing massive problems. Apart from portals that are already in existence, I want that locked down. So you guys, like, if someone is to open a portal, it's policed pretty heavily by lawful celestials.
Somebody opened a
Then
portal
there's
in that
also-
temple.
Yep. And then there's also the whole problem of if the follower of a god does it, all the gods aligned with law that have said that shouldn't happen will go to war with that god and all their followers to be like, there were rules. You're breaking them. There was a line in, I think, Hearts of Flame or early scales above, which I remember now, saying that one of the gods locked the cosmos into stasis, into place with golden pillars, and like legions of angelic creatures are constantly having to administer to it because the motion of these, like the spheres of the planes constantly put pressure on it. So one wrong move, one wrong portal opening can shatter the whole construct. So it's very, don't fuck with portals.
So Auric did do one lawful thing when he closed that portal in the season finale.
Oh yeah. They would like, something would have been like, what has been happening? And seeing you close it, being like, good, and then gone back to the
He gets one pass.
So yeah, there's a lot of craziness there. So unfortunately, the demons that were coming through were already coming through a stable portal provided by the barbarians. So that's now considered a place that is just directly to one of the layers of the abyss, and because of the rules they've set in place, they're not closing it. So it just is. There's another one above where a mountain used to stand, which a dragon destroyed. There's another one above the center of a desert, which I believe Dominic, your old character agent, has passed through. And then there's one up in the north of the world where the Queen of the Wild Elves is, which you pass through in High Plains. So they're the ones that are kind of like known fixtures. They're places you can go and plane hop. Once you're outside, there's different places that have different portals. It's kind of, you go to jump to one plane to get to the next, get to the next, get to the next. So it's a fair bit of travel, and there's a lot of infrastructure in place to allow that. But not many people from the material plane decide to go out and do a lot of that, because it's like, okay, if I want to get to heaven without dying, I have to go through the abyss, get to the first layer, and then jump to the bottom of the mountain of heaven. So I don't really want to travel through the abyss. It's not nice. The only other way to do that is, as you found out in Heart of the Plains, is to bargain with the ferryman.
Yeah. I don't recommend any of this. Like, I don't recommend plane hopping in Nova's world at all. It is a nightmare. Everything you fight there is awful. It will scar you for life. You will cry every time. It is
you
dangerous.
Guys are real rough. If you guys think Scales has been rough, Heart of the Plains was something else.
Yeah.
So yeah, Inevitables. Yeah, Inevitables
stuff,
are more or less. There's a lawful god who has like legions of angels that he looks after, and he's created Inevitables with the help of another god to police a lot of things. So yeah, they might be, because my world uses a lot of the creatures, but in different ways and changes them. Do you guys have any other thoughts that you want to ask about? Any theories? Tig is streamers. Nothing else? Nothing you want to guess at for B plots, side plots, campaign plots? Ask about what's coming up. You have another. I'm going to give you like 2 minutes to ask any questions about season 2. While I'm feeling lenient, I might give you answers. Otherwise, just stumble through it and possibly get stabbed.
So we failed to find Herrick's wife in that burned up place. I guess my question is, does
Harding,
yeah.
Harding's
Who's
wife.
Herrick? Harding.
I don't know.
I don't know either. The butt tattoo guild. Shadow
Black Sabers.
daggers, black sabers. I was close. Shadow daggers. That's pretty close.
Kinda.
Yeah. Do they operate in other cities as well? Are they present
Oh
throughout?
yeah, we operate everywhere.
Okay, great. Nice.
Oh, Harding joined the chat.
Nice.
Yeah,
Cool.
He did. Probably bump into him at some point. And
We also may have
There's-
killed his wife.
fate. Please don't tell me that. There's.
A dragon killed it, and then we killed the dragon. We sent that dragon to hell. Very specifically, we didn't kill the
There's-
dragon, but we sent it to hell which implies that we killed.
Well, yeah, in a spell storm, we killed the one actually responsible, which was the burning.
Fucking sips. Anyways, the Black Sabers are more or less everywhere. If someone was to know Thieves' Cant at all, you could probably find them in any given city. So.
Oh, I know Thieves' Cant.
Yeah, you. It's hard to tell exactly who I'm looking at. I'm staring right at your camera right now. So yes, you could find them if you want, and they'll probably be able to find you from the tattoo. So that'll be a thing. Anything else, or are we done with this question? 3, 2.
There's a good question. Will there be any more guest players and characters in season 2?
There will. I have to
Ooh.
get back in contact with him. I can give you the 2 guests that we have lined up for this season. One for this season, one for next season. This season, once we're done with Bars for Bards, which is something that Whistle runs with a bunch of other YouTubers, and she's invited me along to do some stuff with that. But Joe Cat has agreed to join the party for a session or 2, which is pretty cool. I'm looking forward to that. Joe Cat, yeah. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, and am not intimidated at all by him. Anyways, yeah, so that'll be a thing. I'm looking forward to that. He sent me one idea for a character so far, and if anyone's watched any of his videos, it's or the video he did with Dingo specifically, it's a bard called Auric, who was just a nice boy with a violin. So if you know that, yeah. What's that look, Shannon?
It rhymes with somebody else's name and also plays the same instrument, so
Yeah, they can. What's going to be good is when they form a little duet as they're like playing, and Sloane's just sitting there like.
Oh, that means Sloane's gonna
Bangers on the
learn an
table.
instrument.
oh no.
I feel
She
like
All right,
can't
well-
read
well-
she can't read books, she can't read music.
I bet you Sloane would be really good at the drums.
She would be
Yeah.
really good at the drums.
Or
Or
at least
feel
one drum.
the
One drum.
the triangle.
she's just
the
tone deaf and can't get it
maracas.
right.
Music is just
tambourine.
another form of magic.
The-
Smash the guitar.
I feel like nearly every guest star is going to come in and just instantly earn the ire of Sloane by being better friends with Auric than she is.
100%.
Generally,
The-
all the guests will just be friends with Auric, and when Auric has a hard time being friends with the rest of the party.
The other person is in season 3. We have Felix, who is the DM for Fool's Gold, the game that Sips is in, and also plays Crackers in the other game that they do. Yes, Rosebuds. He said he should be free at the time season 3 starts. So we're gonna talk about how long. It might be one session, might be more. We're just gonna see. He's a very busy guy. He's insanely busy. So he originally was like, yeah, maybe end of season 1. No, sometimes season 2. Looking like season 3, just because he's a busy dude. So I'm not gonna. I hope he plays. He said that he will, but if life gets in the way, life gets in the way. Right. We have about half our Team Canada represented. Yeah. And then there's just me in Australia, far away, waking up early. All right, some questions for the characters. I'm going to try to run through a few of these before we wrap this up. Firstly, to Auric. From seeing the consequences of using powerful magics and the devastation it causes, has it altered Auric's approach to his own practice or only encouraged it more? Has his arcane goals altered from the start of the season compared to now?
That's a good question. I would say his his ultimate arcane goals have not changed. He has he does have a singular goal that was hinted at in the intermission sessions. Generally speaking, he has a broad goal, which is always just to acquire more magical power. And I think that goal means that the more destructive his magic becomes, the more wild his magic becomes. It's like gasoline on fire, not water on fire. It's just going to rage it more, and he's of the mindset of just push through. Like, you're so far in it that behind you is only fire, and the only place where there might not be fire is forward. So keep pushing through, and that's going to always be his mindset, I think.
Okay. One more for you then. What number Gladstone are you currently up to?
I believe we're on Gladstone. I in the season I skipped a few numbers. I realized, so I think we're at Gladstone 74, maybe 75.
Leaf, how do you feel about your new arm, and does it worry you the consequences it might have? How has it affected your character so far? And has he taken Sip's word to not let it consume him to heart?
I think I think like how it's affecting him. I think there's like a dull foreboding that just kind of emanates from it at all times. It definitely reminds him of being in hell, which he doesn't like. In case that was unclear, but I think like generally it doesn't affect him a whole lot because he is used to getting stared at all the time anyway, just by being a Catman. So sticking out is kind of what he does all the time anyway. I think he is worried about what Sip said about not letting it control him, but I think he is also upset by how vague. I think he would have liked it if Sips had stuck around for maybe 2 more minutes. And listen, very cool line to go out on. Love the drama of that. Absolutely great. But something like if you, so here's what Leaf's going to do. If Leaf ends up cursing people by touching them, he's going to go to a print shop and he's going to make up some pamphlets like, "Hi, you've been cursed. What do you do now?" And he's going to hand those out as he curses people, and not just give them some sort of like vague foreboding prophecy and then disappear into the shadows.
I'd love to just like message Dingo and be like, I need you to like just give me a how-to guide on curses, just in Sips's voice. So at some point I could just be like, when you're like sitting there and like down on your luck, you can just call Sips and I can just play that through. Like, all right, what you gotta do is. But again, she's a very, very busy lady, so I won't be doing that. All right. How does Saros feel about his mortality after the final combat of the season? Has it changed his outlook on life and his opinions toward magic users?
Mages.
You knew your life was gonna be short, bloody, and magical.
So yeah, mages keep bringing me almost to death, but I keep bringing them a lot closer. Bada bing. Yeah.
You should see the other guy.
You should see the other guy. Yeah, so I talked about this a little bit earlier, so I won't go into it too much. But my Saros's relationship with Auric has really changed a lot of his like opinions on magic. Not opinions on magic, but has just like introduced a whole other subsect of magic for him to have opinions about that he's not sure how he feels yet. In regards to his mortality, that is, I think he's more concerned about like his immortality at this point, having lived through 2 of these things and had death kind of keeping an eye on him now. When you dedicate your life to donking up mages,
Hey Raiders, just to
hi,
back up
welcome
for a second.
in.
Hi everyone from the Welcome In. Thank you very much.
Come
We're doing
on
our
in.
table talk for season 2. Did you have to? Puns always from you.
Always.
Saros, agent, who's actually below me, is currently going through if constantly almost dying has affected his outlook on life. Continue.
Yeah, so I guess just the point is that like Saros is a mage hunter. He dedicates his life to literally going around and just snuffing out mages that his god tells him to. So you kind of gotta make peace with your mortality pretty early on. There's more in Saros's backstory that hasn't come out about this, but that's like a big part of it is kind of making peace with that kind of thing. But now he is quite concerned about the fact that the ferryman saved him and brought him back, and then that the Death Ward, which has been flavored kind of as the ferryman as well, is what saved him from just getting obliterated in the final fight of season 1. It kind of thematically has built on that and the way that I played him. So he is mortality and immortality, or just the fact that he keeps narrowly avoiding death, is definitely plaguing on his mind quite a lot right now. Also, the fact that he looks like a walking undead right now, like he's suffered all these like insane burns of his fat boiling out, and then being, taking whatever that like 400 lightning damage in one round and getting saved with the Death Ward. Like he looks like a walking corpse, and walking into a city is going to be, as I said earlier, like it's going to be a bit of an issue on he feels more dead than he feels alive. That sounds weird. Why do I keep playing these really like dark characters that are just like, oh, I'm dead inside?
It's just I think you're projecting something.
Oh
no. Next question is for Sloan. Does Sloan question the origin of her sword and what ulterior motive it may have? How far is she willing to go to achieve power at the risk of sacrificing her own agency?
She definitely questions that sword, and that I kind of talked about it earlier, is how she's going to explore that this season and try and find some answers, because she likes the power that it gives her, but she doesn't like the person it's making her become, because that was something that she was really, really big on in like before the season, like when she was still at her tribe. Like she was one of the best fighters, but she didn't like to do it because she didn't like doing it. But this sword is making her feel just on top of the world and so powerful, and just the adrenaline that courses through her when she's using the sword, like she really likes it. So it's going to be a struggle for her to separate that, and she has to choose between power and the person she wants to be this season. And I think that's going to be a really difficult choice for her. And we'll just see what happens.
Let's have a look. Nia DM, is she okay, and why is she taking a back seat right now? Oh, we covered that. She's been through some shit and she needs some time. We'll cover a bit more of what happens with Nia in the recaps for this season as well. We've got ideas on how to tell Nia's story while she's not here. But we'll get to that. To me again, what can you tell us about Whistle's new character, Irelia? What kind of role does she bring to the party, and how does she fill the hole Nia has left? Irelia's kind of like a motherly character. She's looking after Wolfpack, and she's kind of going to look after these people as if they're her pops as well. She's also an elf. She's, 30-ish in elf years. So, a couple hundred years old, 300 maybe. And the shaman class that I kind of, because druids are a thing that don't really fit my world particularly well. They're also frustrating as a DM sometimes. But the way I have certain lore and things, they don't really fit. I've taken an idea from a book series I really like, where people and things need to get invested with magic in some way. And the way that nature casters do that is some spirit or god or something gifts onto them the ability to do things. And shamans, by being so close to nature, get a spirit companion, which is a familiar but ethereal, and only they can see it. But without it, they cannot cast spells. So if someone can target ethereal creatures and kills it, they lose their casting completely, and a lot of their abilities as well. So she brings some neat tricks to the party, especially at her level, where she can set up like little homes and groves around the places, which she can then use fast travel between. So it's effectively tree stride with extra steps. The Spirit Companion is a great little tool to allow her to talk to things and get a voice back without actually having to talk to one of these people all the time. And then she has chosen the effectively Circle of the Shepherd, but instead of summoning, she takes on the traits of things, and she gets extra spirit creatures, and they can possess like lots and lots of surrounding creatures to buff them up so they can be saved from whatever harm is coming or use them to fight. So it is very, very similar to a Circle of Shepherds druid, just with a little less shape changing and a little more buffing and healing. And I will get you all a bit more information on that, and I'll release some of the abilities as she uses them into the Discord so people can see it. How did each character feel about Nia's temporary departure? Do you guys want to, like, 10 words or less, how you feel about it, going from Agent?
Sad. Nia was like, Nia and Saros had a weird little like father-daughter sort of relationship in a weird way. Nope. Sad. I'll just go sad. Thank you, Shannon.
Mike?
Leaf feels like we failed her a little bit.
Okay. Shannon?
Sloan feels very guilty.
As she should.
Thanks, I know.
You got 3 more if you want to throw any more shade at me. No, we're good.
I can't. I'm not good on the spot.
Get
and I play
fucked,
D&D.
Nova.
There we go. That's what I was
Thank
waiting for.
you.
I was waiting for like a fuck you, Nova,
That.
but yeah.
Yes,
okay.
that.
And Sean.
Who's Nia? No.
Yes. She didn't exist in your life long enough to actually form a lasting memory for
The
you.
permanent memories aren't there yet. No, Auric would loss of opportunity.
Okay.
He was a powerful person and half elf, and his daughter's half elf.
All right. Right. So, got a couple more from your community, from the Paradise RPG people. And I'll answer the last couple questions from the chat, and then we'll call it a night/day. So, Auric has used his arcane powers to cast healing. Has he ever tried to cast druidic spells or something else? I know he's had experiments. That's from Zyberian in the Paradise Discord.
Auric, I think, has not. I guess comparing that to like the way you have druids with the shaman homebrew class, he just hasn't considered it really. I mean, he doesn't not consider nature because he is from the Feywild, and I think maybe even like in some place within him, it's just not. It's like one of the few places where he's like, it's not my territory. You know, one of the few places where he might just be like, I don't do that. I don't, it's not, the equation doesn't make sense to him. He'd almost be like, the transition wouldn't work. But this domain of magic, yeah, I could steal that. That I can turn into this. This might change with the introduction of Irelia, because even just her using her nature magic to shorten our travel has certainly piqued Auric's interest. As his interests do rely heavily on time and space, and that is significant. But no, in the past he hasn't. His endeavors into healing magic have been entirely from a partially it comes from his bardic background he also has, but mostly it's taking kind of thinking about like bardic magic is like manipulating the strings of reality, and I think that's how he views it when it comes to healing, and turning healing spells into dunamancy spells is a time thing to him.
The thing with Auric is he's got a very small spell list you can actually cast freely. Everything else has a risk of wild magic because of how magic works in my world. So he has to spend a lot of time experimenting, because dunamancy is very different to the other ones. He can try to find dunamantic ways to cast standard spells, but they require experiments. Whenever he does them on the fly in combat, he usually has a surge. Even when he tries to experiment, he has a surge, but every time he experiments, it reduces the DC of that check, so eventually he can cast it without having to make any sort of Arcana check.
Yeah.
So this is for Shannon. Sloan versus Conan versus Scarlet versus Bruce Lee. Who wins?
Oh my God. This is from our lovely castmate Clayton. So here's your shout out, Clayton. You're welcome. I imagine this as a Hunger Games scenario. Scarlet and Sloane would team up and kick the shit out of don't give me that face. Kick the shit
Scarlet
out
is
of
the most lone wolf person I've ever met.
Okay, well, punchline of that is Sloane would win all because Scarlet's no match for her. So
Bruce Lee's a level 20 monk.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
He knows kung fu.
I do
So
feel like
does
that's a really
Sloane.
hard thing, because if you do a Hunger Games scenario where they're all standing there with weapons in the middle, Sloane is just going to run in there, grab a weapon, and start butchering.
That's true.
Conan is more of a thief than a barbarian. It's just that's how we know him. So I feel like he'd actually be like not doing that, and he'd find a tricky way around it. Scarlet would do the same thing.
Scarlet
I think what would happen
I think
is
she'd be out.
3 of them would run off, and Scarlet and Sloane be in the middle with weapons like, oh, and then probably
I thought
die
this
to a
was a
trap
fighting
somewhere.
pit.
Oh.
Let's be honest, she would die to a trap somewhere in the forest or whatever, or the mountains, and the rest would fight it out.
That's
As
a
much
good
as you
point.
like Sloane, she ain't smart. She's too naive, and she'll walk into a
What
trap.
kind of trap is going to take out Sloane?
Well,
I mean, if Auric wasn't
if we
already
say-
in that trap, I think Sloane would have got caught in it.
If we're saying
Matt.
Bruce
She
Lee's
has
a
low
friggin' level 20 monk,
intelligence.
she would
She
just
doesn't
like
have.
carve a trap from stone with his hands. He'll be fine.
Yeah, and
Scarlet, I'm pretty
Sloane
sure just needs a
has-
sharp rock, and she could kill most people. So
Scarlet's not really a trap person. She'd probably try to surprise one of them, and then
Yeah.
if it doesn't work,
Find a
run
weapon.
away.
yeah.
So there you have it.
But Bruce Lee would win in the end.
Yeah, if we assigned
Not
him,
in my head canon.
if we assigned him like D&D stats, I think so. If it's just like a regular mortal man, because D&D characters are
True,
effectively
true,
superheroes, he's dead. He's the first one to die.
It's a good
Because he'd be
That's
like,
good.
I can fight, and then Sloane sort of just laughs and he falls over from the shock. So-
Suddenly a spirit bear kills him.
yeah, a bear appears and he's like, that's not
fuck?
real, and he dies. So yeah. Can Auric cause vertigo by gravitying someone's inner ear? I don't know who's that actually is asked to.
That's the. Oh.
I think it's to anybody.
Clayton's trolling.
That's a
I
good
actually-
question, though.
I like spells
I think
being
you
used
could.
in interesting ways. The most
I think you
interesting way
could.
I've seen a spell used in my recent memory, it was about 2 years ago, actually. Someone made a glass dagger and stabbed someone, and with their second attack got like a brick and shattered it inside them, and then the next round they cast
Ooh.
mending on the dagger and it pulled back through them, and I was like, that guy's dead. That you
Wow.
are not surviving. Broken glass is inside
That's
you. No.
really creative.
That would
so-
tear up so many.
Yeah, you
Scarlet needs
find
to
a
get
way to
herself a
cast-
glass dagger.
Scarlet doesn't know how to cast
Yeah.
mending.
Figure it out.
If you can
Clayton
find
can.
a way to gravity someone's inner ear, yeah, I'd probably allow it. That's like clever. I like that. So
I guess I could probably do that.
we'll
I'm
see
so
how that actually
dizzy.
plays out.
Yeah, I
Uh,
guess it's like just with action economy of Auric. Like, is it better for Auric to spend his turn making someone dizzy or altering the fabric of time?
I mean, I
Like,
view this
yes,
as
he
more like,
can.
how can I piss off Saros?
Oh yeah,
Make
make
him
him
wake
fall
up with
down. He
vertigo one
hates
day.
that.
Look, there's so I'm reading a book at the moment, and the reason I'm mentioning this is because of how this would work. In that, a guy has a power to control people, right? But that's not what he does most of the time, because it's a huge invasion of privacy. Whenever he does it, everyone goes after him. So what he does is he just twinges individual nerves every now and again. Someone goes to pick up a gun, and instead of like picking it up, they keep stumbling and they keep knocking it around. They can't quite grip it. Someone goes to swing and they'll like raise their sword and just let it go, and it like falls behind them. Like they just can't. No one can fight this man because things like that happen. So yeah, you can control gravity, right? But you don't need to always be like gravity sinkhole, crush man into ground. You can just be like, increase the gravity around one hand and the guy just falls to the side, sort of thing. Like just little things. Just
you
Very
make
cool
someone
for like
experiment their pants?
inside. I think we should go with what Kieran said first because
Yeah.
it's clearly
Very important. Can you make someone
was
poop
that?
their pants with gravity? This is a key important season 2 question.
You want him
Probably.
to apply gravity to stool
Probably.
and not the rest of him.
Yeah. I'm just curious if you could, That's if we're going down that road.
Well, I could also use gravity to pants someone.
Yeah, there you go.
There's a lot of things I can do now that I think about it. If I'm allowed to
Boy,
really
we
just
are
manipulate
pulling
this.
some gags in Etralone. There we go. That's the B plot. That's the B plot right there.
Yeah.
Gravity gags.
The first dragon that comes down is wearing a big pair of blue jeans, and or
So
it just
embarrassed.
pantses the dragon.
Goes right
so
back.
embarrassed he leaves.
Yeah.
Like I'm out.
Oh, I'm gonna go back to hell.
Okay.
Sorry.
Continuing on to the rest. Unless you had something you wanted to say, right, Mike, about this?
I was just thinking that like those little effects could be a cool way to still be allowed to use magic in places with like slayers in them. Like if it was harder to detect little things like making people drop stuff or making people dizzy, then that could be a cool way to incorporate Auric's magic in a place where magic is banned.
subtle casting cantrips would get you away with a lot of stuff. Yeah. All right, Reynard or Reynards, Vulps. Yeah. Yep. Who is it that Nia hates most right now? She's not here, but Sloane. As in Nia's not here, but she Sloane killed her family and her boyfriend. I've had to talk to Whistle, be like, so are you going to go after Sloane? She's like, I can't, I die. I'm like, yeah, but are you going to go after Sloane? Because I need to know how to play this out. Now, question for all the players: are you planning for your characters in the near future, like your character's next goal, to help them reach the final? Or what are you planning for your characters in the near future? Yeah. So, have you got any plans to help you survive and get things done? I believe is what he's asking. And what are your short-term plans? What are your short-term and long-term plans here? You got anything, or you just like, we'll see?
I'm not much of a planner as a player. I tend to kind of wait until the path becomes clear, but I do want a grappling hook. So I'm going to buy a grappling hook. That's as far ahead as I'm going to turn this dragon shooting crossbow into some kind of grappling hook.
Okay.
Excellent.
Good idea.
Anyone else have any plans at all, or are we just gonna just
Auric
see the
has some
advances?
plans. Auric has some plans. I mean, in the short term, Auric's gonna beef up his experimentation routine.
Oh boy.
And he's particularly looking for means of. He's very interested in what's happening with Saros, and I would be lying if I didn't say he is interested in how it's happening and how to have it for him.
You're gonna goo me.
Absorb magic.
You're gonna goo me, aren't you? You're gonna use that goo on me.
I mean, you're like the best candidate besides Sloane to use the goo on because like you're already kind of all fried up and whatnot. So what's the goo gonna do?
Oh, I'm gonna get
The
gooed.
goo you might get gooed and suddenly it's like we can't do much with this. But
He's so fucked up, the goo turns him normal now.
yeah, right.
The goo just climbs back into the jar.
I don't want none of this.
He's
Just-
already
Yeah,
obviously
right.
already been glued. I'm not going to do it again. Someone gooed this guy already.
As we discovered, Nova, when we were recording for the recap, Sloane is a very reactive character. So I'm with Mike on this one. I don't have like I've said, like she's gonna work on the sword thing, but other than that, like she's going to observe and react to the environment around her and what her friends do.
Yeah. Okay. From Rosebox, what challenges do you have as a DM with balancing enemies within a short time as you do everything in a week? How do you continue to keep your cool as a DM on screen when they throw so much at you? You think I keep my cool? It's internal screaming. That's all it is the entire time, from when we go live to when we stop. And I have fun with it, but it's like, okay, I've planned. So the thing with me is, I used to use a program which was like, okay, here's the start, and then breaks off with things. Because I like to plan out every decision I could possibly think of, and then arc from there. Maybe only 1 or 2 dot points, but then I had like hundreds of things, and it was branching out to like thousands of decisions. Like, okay, I need to stop. I'm over prepping. But I did for maybe the first 2/3 of Scales Above and all the Heart of the Plains. Pretty much nothing they really did surprised me, apart from when Valiste locked himself in a force bubble with a bunch of demons. That one, I was like, okay, I didn't see that coming. Thought he might try to escape, but he had a very "you're locked in here with me" situation going on. But yeah, I've stopped doing that. I more or less have a very loose plan now with a few major scenes set out depending on their decisions. And because I hadn't really played with you all a lot, except for Kieran, until this point, I more or less was just hoping you guys would, do the right thing. And now that I've played with you, I know how you all sort of function. I can A, shape the story easier, and B, know that you're not gonna just be like, well, we're about to walk into this town, but instead I cast, teleportation and we're in the North Pole. Because that would just completely bollocks up the story. So thank you for not doing that. And fuck you to my home game for doing that. They do it all the time. Music's been dead for a while, hey? Well, music. I see you've got the last laugh this time. I hit play twice, and then it must just have stopped. So I'll try it again. Anyways, so yeah, my cool is kept now because I can trust the players. I think they can trust me. We've had enough time around each other. Is the music going?
No.
I know it's not exactly top of the priority list, but it always bugs me when the music just stops and won't play.
I was confused.
So give me stop, play.
There you go.
Hey.
Now it's going. Just that track refused to play. So yeah, I keep my cool by trusting the players and they trust me, and it means that if something's coming up, like I can send a message in the chat and be like, "You guys are wildly off track. Keep it up," and they will start being like, "Oh God, that thing's scary. We should run away now directly to where we need to go," and they can just kind of do it. And the reason I do that sort of stuff is because we are on a time limit. It's 3 hours to a stream. So if they're sort of dawdling a bit, I can do that and they can pick it up. But usually they're pretty good at picking up cues about how things should go. I think at this point you all have either backgrounds in performative arts or you've been streaming enough to know, you have time limits, set cues, and all that sort of stuff. The last question, I believe, before we wrap this up from Radars is, how would an artificer work in your world, Nova? Before artificers were official, or artificers were official, however you want to say it, I had made a custom class called the Runesmith because I didn't like the way the beta artificer rules worked. I thought they were crap. I've looked at them now. They're not as bad, but they're still not really my cup of tea. I kind of wanted something that was, instead of like, I craft with magic, I can craft things, and as opposed to like them having their own power, they like outside source the power and they draw in power from something else. They imbue it with something external to their own forces. And from what I understand, a lot of time artificers do have their own minor magical abilities, which they then do things with. So I have something called Runesmiths, very heavily based on Warhammer, though slowly shifting away from that the more I tinker with it, where they pretty much have no magic themselves. They work runes into pieces of armor and weapons, which are the physical expression of like the language of like creation. So like they've stumbled across a rune that means fire to the world, so that when it's on a weapon, it draws magic just from the ley lines from other places into the weapon, so that weapon now has a fiery property. So I think Sloan saw one of them in the recap when someone was like, Yoga Flame, and made a slash, and there was fire. So yeah, there's a lot like that. I have a huge document about them. not to say someone can't play an artificer, but we would just have a discussion about how that would go, because I wanted to keep to the law of the world, because the whole idea is that for my world, you choose a path of magic. You choose a school of magic, and that is the one that you grow with, and because there's all the gods vie for control of magic, and they very jealously guard. So if you decide to be part of that school, you're on good terms with the god of it. There's a bit of back and forward, even if it's just like a intellectual thing, like would be with Auric. He's just learning about it. That god is still allowing him to take that power. But then if you're evocation man, and you go and try to cast an illusion, those gods don't get along, and you've decided to side yourself with one of them. So illusion god says no, and you can cast the spell usually, but there'll always be a wild surge because you're taking it from the god as opposed to being allowed to have it. So with the way artificers work, they don't really fit that so well, which is why I have the whole Runesmith thing where they don't use magic themselves. They just draw it in ambiently from the world. And I could probably sit there and homebrew some artificer stuff to make that how it functions. But I already spent like a year building a class. So I'm going to do what I do. Yeah, that's the very long story behind that. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk. I can trigger Nova just by saying temporal shunt. I've just read, and yes. Yes, you can. That's a spell, right? Not a class feature?
It's that's actually a spell. It's a pretty high level spell.
Good.
So
I have to start saving some counter spells for that.
Yeah, it is the perfect spell to counter spell.
Yeah.
Like
Sorry,
those mages can cast counter spell with me around.
So what if you view it as making machines that produce the effect? Yeah, that would be one way to do it, but you'd have to explain. Like I like to have my players tend to like to dismantle reasoning a lot of the time. So if you're like, the machine makes a fireball by doing this, I guarantee you someone's going to come along and be like, I'm going to take that machine and open it up and figure out how that works and make one myself, because now it's not needing any real magic or any real like years and years and years of learning. If it's just a machine that can do it, someone with just a little bit of intelligence could really reverse engineer that. Might be catastrophic, but you could also, because now it's just down to a DC check. So yeah, that. So I was going to say now, I saw a post on Twitter as when you said the perfect spell to counterspell. Someone was just like, I just counterspell to counterspell, and I've never felt so sexy in my entire life. And I was like, unfortunately, that's happened in my games far too often. Mostly with Agent being like, oh, I see you've counterspelled. I will also counterspell.
I love counterspelling a counterspell. It is one of the most satisfying things you can do in D&D.
Yeah. It's hard to get a player to burn their reaction so that you can cast a spell, or so that they can then cast a spell and you can counterspell it. Like it's a hard setup. Anyways, that's more or less all we've got time for today. I'm gonna get everyone through a very quick round circle goodbye on who they are, where they're from, and we'll close this out. So in reverse order, starting with Agent number 1.
Hi, I'm Agent number 1. I am a Twitch streamer who streams on Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays on my own channel, where I play a lot of Total War games and other complicated strategy stuff. I'm also part of the Wonders and Blunders crew, which is a great podcast that Mike's going to tell you all about, where I play as a player, and I also do the sound and music and sound effects for it as well. That's me.
All right. Next up, we have Mike.
Hi, I'm Mike. I am the DM of Wonders and Blunders. Go check us out on wondersandblunders.com or wonderandblunder.com or wherever you get your podcasts. And while you're looking for podcasts, you can also find me on a new podcast coming out next month called That's Lunacy. with me and two friends who want to make a werewolf movie and therefore are watching every werewolf movie before we do it.
Is it? Is that lunacy a pun on Luna and werewolves, or am I just
Lunacy?
reading too
Yeah.
much into it? Good.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad. All right. Next up, we have Shannon.
Me. Hi, everybody. I am Shannon. I am from Paradise RPG. I'm our community manager. I play Scarlet in our Monday night long-term campaign. I'm one half of the Tim and Shannon Power Hour, and I mod for Sean's stream Relaxing Paradise on Thursdays. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at sroby25. And yeah, that's me. I'll let Sean talk about more Paradise stuff. Oh, we're playing in a game tomorrow night on Slade's Paradise for Jasper's Game Day. Our game is at 7 p.m. Eastern. So if you're around, we'd love to have you come watch.
Okay. That means lastly, we're at Sean.
Yeah, so I am Sean O'Donovan. I am the DM over at Paradise RPG for our flagship show, Advantage of Paradise. In addition to all the regular programming that Shannon just announced, we also have our One Shot in Paradise coming up on March 13th. I believe, Shannon, correct me if I'm wrong, that will be at 3 p.m. Eastern time. I'll be playing in that. I have not made my character yet, which is great. But it should be a lot of fun. Stefan always has great things in mind for us. And yes, we will be playing in the Jasper's Game Day game tomorrow. I'm playing a Warforged character who is I've decided powered by water, like a hydro-powered Warforged character, because my
That's
magic
new.
item I took is the Decanter of Endless Water. So it's just
Awesome.
like part of him, and yeah, I'm excited to try it out. I decided that today, Shannon, but
Yeah, I was like, we did not discuss that.
yeah. He's also Swarm Keeper Ranger, which is cool.
That's right.
But I'm
that
getting
I
on a
did know.
tangent. But yeah, check us out.
Okay. And while Agent finds someone for us to raid, I will do my outro. I sent you a message.
I have all these responsibilities I'm not used to doing.
That's fine. He's like, oh, I'm just going to enjoy the end of this stream. No, never again. Hi, my name is Nova, or Nova1, or Kyle, or whatever you want to call me. I am the DM for The Scales Above, and it's played in my homebrew world of Tariel. There's a bunch of info about us and our games on YouTube. I'm also the guy that runs Roll for Damage with my two friends, AJ Winters and Bree, or Brepai, who help me out with socials and art, and they DM games. Well, Bree doesn't, but AJ does. So yeah, thanks a lot to them. We have season 2 starting up next weekend. This was actually really smooth compared to what it could have been. Bit of audio at the start, but pretty good other than that. So thank you very much, Agent, for helping us out there. I could have done it, but I'm useless. So
Glad to do so.
thanks.
I'm glad it went smooth. Ish.
We are, well, I am with a few others participating in the Bars for Bars campaign coming up. I don't know when it's starting. I don't know if I'm meant to be advertising at all, but that's a thing that's happening, and it's for a good cause. It's a charity event, so definitely, watch all of Twitter and YouTube and and everything for news on that. I don't know when it's coming, but hopefully soon. And what else we've got to cover? I think that's about it. If you want to get more information, again, panels and links and stuff are all below for all of our friends and our Insta and our Twitter and our Discord and the rest. So yeah, if you like what you're seeing here, follow and whatnot, head to YouTube and you can watch more of us be silly nerds. And with that, you seem offended.
No. I was just excited to take us away on a raid and switch on over.
I was about to do that. All right. Yeah.
Well,
no,
by all means. Okay, so
no,
we're
it's
ready.
okay. No, You can tell us.
So we're gonna be rating a group called the Role Players. They're doing a 1K giveaway. They're on the 63rd episode of their thing. I've seen these guys a little bit. They seem quite fun. It's also just nice to see when people are, hitting big numbers and wanting to celebrate that. So we're gonna pass a raid over to them as we switch over to the end screen here, and we'll see you all next week for the first episode.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
And I got this
Hopefully this works.
Let's go with the transition here. Okay.